versus right dilemma would be when you're having to choose between two of your morals or values in order to solve an ethical dilemma.
Okay, so Ian, what do you think a right versus right decision is?
I think that a right versus right decision is where you're in a position to choose between two possible outcomes, both of which have a seemingly positive aspect to them, and you have to figure out how to choose which one is the right way to go.
So, Amy, what do you think a right versus right ethical dilemma is?
I would say a right versus right ethical dilemma would be something where you have two decisions you have to make, and they're both good, they're both right in a way, neither one is wrong, type of a thing.
Say ethical decision making, right versus right scenario.
So I would say that that would represent somebody that has to make a decision, and both of the decisions that they can make could be seen as the right thing to do, even though making one decision is probably either going to violate the law or somebody's personal well-being, even though it might be the right thing to do. If it supports justice, it probably will violate the person's well-being, and vice versa in a given scenario.
Nice.
You're a network administrator for a rather large company and have a young family and need your job to support them. Part of your responsibility as a network administrator is to monitor the emails for the organization and allow emails through for staff members that have been accidentally blocked by the spam filter. One day, you get a request from a staff member, who is a good friend's wife, asking for an email to get released. As part of the procedure, you need to manually open up the email to ensure that it isn't spam. So you do, and you discover that it's an email to your friend's wife from her lover. You scan the rest of the contents of the email, and there's no doubt that she has been having an affair for some time now. You release the email, but you can't decide what to do. Your initial reaction is to call up your friend and tell him about the email. However, you quickly realize that company policy is very strict about revealing the contents of confidential emails of staff members, and this could result in you getting fired. What do you do?
Okay, so in this situation, since I'd be raising a family, so I'd want to keep my job, I would go to the wife, let her know that I know about the affair, and tell her that if she doesn't tell him, then I will, and hopefully she'll just tell him and I can still keep my job. So I had this situation once when two of my good friends were dating, and one of them cheated on the other friend, and I ended up betraying the trust of my one friend in order to do what I thought was right to tell my other friend.
I found out that one of my good friend's wife was having an affair, and it was up to me to tell him, then I would definitely do it, because it's more important for me to keep the relationships I have with the people that I love versus keep my job. There's always going to be other job opportunities. There's always going to be something you can do. But friends and family are who stick by you when you have nothing else. I've never actually known anybody I've never actually been friends with somebody who's cheating on another one of my friends. But I have had friends who are dating, and I find out that one of them is going to break up with the other person, and then I urge the dumper to get a move on and do it quickly, because it's not fair to the dumpee to keep them in that relationship longer than necessary.
You coach a college basketball team, and for the first time in years, your team has made it to the semifinals. With only a week left to practice before the game, you give your players a set curfew. Your two star players, Brad and Mike, skip curfew. The rule says that they should be suspended for 1 full week. If you follow the rule, Brad and Mike will not play in the semifinals, but the whole team is depending on them. What do you do?
So I think that the coach should discipline the students, and that they shouldn't be allowed to play in the game. As like a person who's played on a lot of sports teams before, I think that it wouldn't be fair to the other players on the team if you give them special treatment just because they're starters and like they're supposed to be more important to the team.
Okay, and then how did you come to this conclusion?
Like I said, I've just been on a lot of sports teams over the years, And I've actually come into a few similar situations like that where kids have been kicked off the team for a week or 2 weeks for getting in trouble outside of the sports team. And I think it's important for coaches to follow through and do what they say they're going to do in those kind of situations.
I think that the kids should probably be disciplined. The coach set rules before they left for the tournament, and it's not fair to everybody else on the team if those kids can play when the rules were clearly broken.
Okay, and how'd you come to this conclusion?
Well, it just seems fair. I don't know. Just from being on a couple of sports teams back in high school and stuff, it just seems like what coaches would do.
All right.
You are a hardworking college student who has 2 jobs that pay for the necessities. Recently, you just received your financial aid refund. Do you save this money for next semester, or do you spend it now to have a social life?
If I was in that situation, it would be really hard, because that's definitely one of those, like, it's my money, I can spend it. I'd really want to go to the bars with it. I'd want to go hang out with my friends. I need social time. But I think I would definitely put it in the bank and save for next semester, just have it on hold.
Okay, so what made you come to this decision? Like, what thoughts behind it? What past experiences?
I think the way that I go about making decisions is the way my parents made decisions. So my parents both work. They both save their money. They spend, a little bit of it, but they save a lot of it for, future and like paying off bills and doing that kind of stuff to make sure that they're never going to go in debt.
Okay, do you know someone that has had to deal with this dilemma before?
I do. One of my good friends deals with this dilemma. She got her financial money back and just went and blew it. And I don't think that was a very good decision because she's struggling right now to try and, pay for school and pay off her loans and stuff. So that's maybe, I guess, another reason as to why I would save it. Just from other people's experiences, it's a good idea to save.
I would save my money for next semester.
Okay, and what's your thought process behind this?
Just because I know, I'm a frivolous spender, so if I were to, just use it for my own thing, I would probably use it on, clothes and food and stuff, going out, not, groceries. So I would put it away for savings, so I couldn't touch that because I know I would spend it irresponsibly.
Okay, and so, do you know anybody that has been in this dilemma before?
Yeah.
How they acted, thought process behind it?
The girl that I knew that had extra financial aid money, she split it half and half. So she saved half of it, and then she spent half of it and used it for spending money.
Mindy is a waitress working at a local diner for the past 7 years. She's a valued employee who always shows up to work on time with a smile on her face. Mike manages the diner, and while balancing the books, he finds the till was $440 short on a night when Mindy worked. He also noticed every shift since the till was short that Mindy has worked, the till has been $5 over. He confronts Mindy, who bursts into tears and explains that she'd gotten behind on rent and needed the money immediately to avoid being evicted. She took the money from the till with the plan to pay back $5 out of her tips each shift until all the money was returned. She's very sorry and will never do this again. What do you do?
I think that since she actually showed the remorse that she did in the situation, bursting into tears, and has actually shown efforts of trying to reimburse that she took, maybe there is a trust issue that was violated, but I believe that since the amount was, I'm not going to say minuscule, but there should be enough in a business of that to cover it. The employee benefits the business by being a good employee, besides the fact of that one thing, and she also showed efforts to repay the money, that having her on hand would be more beneficial for the business than it would be to fire her. It came to me actually relatively quickly. It seemed pretty cut and dry that the mercy side of it would be that I would go with, because I think the beauty of having a small business is not having corporate regulations. There's actually somebody. The beauty of mom and pop businesses such as the diner that's mentioned in the scenario is that